we've always been here in cities and everywhere talking about progressive education. We've been talking so much in last 10, 15 years about an apple is not equal to an orange. Every student is unique, and educational institutions should be able to, cater to the array of student and provide that kind of a platform. But you being the principal and you being in a progressive school, where you see one teacher till date, till the pandemic, walks in the class with her same resource, same textbooks, same kind of AV. What different? How can she cater to this? And how can she, maintain this uniqueness in a class of 40 or 35? Of course, NEP does also talk about, progressive and experiential. And all these things are big words. They are very heavy words. But what is the reality? We have to first look at the progressive schools, only then we will be going to the tier 2, tier 3. So, Anuradha, my question is to you that how do you think a scenario like this can be maintained, and how can we maintain the uniqueness of each and every child in the system? What role the educators will have to take on now?
So in order to be able to help discover the uniqueness of each child, by the end of the journey of the school, so that every student gets to realize his or her potential and knows where to go in the journey of life, what works more than an individual teacher is the system that we create at the level of the school. As an example, like you said, yes, if I as an individual teacher, when I have 30 students, 40 students in my class, for me to be able to discover the unique potential of every student, it requires a lot of interaction and a lot of time that I need to spend. But when you look at it at the level of a system, so, when we look at in our system, for example, typically a student who enters school would spend half the time in classroom and other half is in different activity areas. So the child is not exposed to just one or two teachers. He or she is going through at least 15 activities in a week, and every teacher during each interaction in that activity is having some takeaway about how the child is responding to what is being done in the class. Now, if those observations are brought together, and that discussion and that the 360 report card that the NEP talks about, which a lot of progressive schools already have a part of it in place, So laying equal emphasis on every aspect of education, be it numeracy, literacy, or music, dance, art, theater, or presentation by children, making observations and gradually being able to draw out from those observations systematically definitely helps understand the strengths of each child. And in different parts of the school journey, like we have this 5+3+3+4, which NEP is suggesting. So, each of these is actually a milestone that the child has to reach before he goes to the next stage. When we move from the primary, where the foundation, literacy, numeracy is emphasized upon, and the communication of the child, and all that the children are going to be doing in the rest of the journey of their school, a foundation for that and a familiarity with all of it has to be laid in the foundational years. Then working on their skills in classes 3, 4, and 5 in the next 3 years, helping develop a range in terms of, humanities and politics and culture. And finally, in the last 4 years of the school, where, you allow each child to, through experiences, through interactions with society, with people from society, to be able to understand what is my core strength and bring that out. So that uniqueness of each child And that discovery only comes through the journey of school and the systems that are built and properly, those observations should be carried forward correctly from one year to the next. So it is that when a child transitions from one class to the other and from one wing to the next, how we are taking those observations forward, how much deliberation we are having on it, I think that is what helps the discovery of the innate strengths and talents and uniqueness of the child. And that is where a progressive school, where you have each of the domains, whether it is scholastic, co-scholastic, sports, life skills, along with the academics, so when that 360 report card comes out, I think that is what helps discover what the child, what the strengths of the child and the attributes are all about.
Let me quickly brief up the session. We had Dr. Ashok Pandey talk about his coined the term vitamin T deficiency, which is teacher deficiency in the system, which became very popular in the discussion, and we all accepted this and pondered. He also highlighted some of the red flags and challenges which the NEP, in spite of its, he agreed that it's a very, very powerful policy and a very revolutionary document. But yes, it is going to have challenges like non-partisan arrangement between the center and state. That's something we need to care for. He recommended the expanding of funds from 6% to 10%, which we again. And then, of course, there could be digital inequality. He recommended very beautifully that there should be a hand holding between the private and the public sector. And I'm sure he being part of so much of policy making, these things will be just some of the hurdles and obstacles which we will be taking care of. Then we had Ms. Rita Sen, who spoke about preparedness, who said that no policy has ever given so much of emphasis on the age group of 3 to 6, the Anganwadi, the age group of students, and it creates a very, very inclusive, policy which goes much beyond the RTE as well. Mr. Sandeep Mishra spoke about an empowered teacher can only happen when there is a collective energies convergence of all the stakeholders, the government, the private sector, the non-profit organization. So we all have to collectively work towards creating an empowered educator. And finally, we had Mrs. Anuradha Handa, who spoke at length about the pedagogical preparedness, the kind of deliverance of how the teachers would be prepared to take this policy by the horns. She also spoke about teaching learning should be collaborative, which was something very beautifully she mentioned, that 21st century skills should not just be something which needs to be delivered to the students, but it should be hand-holding between the teachers and the students. We come to the end of this session, and Brother Chaitanya, if you could have any last words about this. But before that, I want to announce that the EduDave School of Inspired Teaching and Learning, in partnership with Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeeth, is launching its web series on decoding NEP 2020. And today was its first inaugural session. And I'm sure there will be a number of these sessions where we'll have great deliberation on some of varied aspects of new education policy, and would try to decode it, take it forward to our educators who would then benefit from the same.